We have to tell stories for the right reasons. Filmmakers are taught to create stories in order to create attention so we can make films for big studios or now big tech companies, which means you are being conditioned to make stories for a large group of people who do not have your best interests in mind, and they have a certain story that they want to hear and that they want their audience to hear. But having the right mindset and knowing your creative source gives you the internal framework to make films for the right reasons, to have an impact and create something for the human experience, not just a company's bottom line. But in order to do that, we need to know the framework of what actually makes a compelling story. And I'm going to give you a framework to help you get started. My name is Maris Litica. I'm a creator auteur. I blend the practices of the creator economy with the auteur viewpoint of filmmaking in order to help other creatives out there have sustainable and independent careers. While this sounds like a negative part on film schools, they don't really teach you the business of making a movie, just the craft. And I had a great experience learning the craft of filmmaking at my alma mater, Columbia College in Chicago. We were greatly brought along on how to make a movie. It was a great experience on how to actually make a film. That was what the 4 years was worth. And now, my first semester, I learned about the history of film, and I just want to go on a little side tangent here. There's been this article that came out a couple of months ago about how film students can't pay attention to a movie. And having gone through film history, I don't think that's the entire story. One, when I was going through history of film, it was like the first class in the morning, and I was also working at the same time. So fatigue is definitely a thing. And that also comes to the second factor, which is the film selection. Now, there are some movies that I really wanted to see, but if you're asking me to like sit through the silent film era at like 9 in the morning after I've either A, been out with friends or been working all night, that is a tall order. So while there may be some truth, and I'm sure there is, to audiences having less attention spans and film students, there's also something to be said for the selection of films that we're showing. So maybe move the class to the afternoon and maybe ease up on, showing the full 4 hours of Battleship Potemkin on a Saturday morning. Just saying. Now, the other course that I was required to take before we were actually allowed to pick up a camera was a course about story. At least at the time, the school felt that it was important to know what makes a good story structure. And I had a story class with my teacher, Carla Fuller. Carla, if you're watching, thank you. You are the foundation which helped me write better stories and screenplays. And she showed us the framework of the hero's journey. Now, a lot of you may have heard about the hero's journey, but the basic overall structure, it basically goes like this. A young hero accepts the call to go on a great adventure with the help of a mentor, leaving their previous ordinary world behind. And they travel to this new world and they encounter trials. They find an artifact they need in order to defeat their enemy and realize their potential. And afterwards, they return home a changed person. And this story structure is often referenced in really big budget sci-fi and Marvel films on like a literal basis. One of the most well illustrated examples of the hero's journey is Star Wars. But what most people forget is that the original inception of this framework was an internal journey that we all go on, which means there are elements of this in stories of all kinds. And when I work with people one-on-one or in groups, which I do on occasion, taking the hero's journey and applying it to their life is something that I have everyone do. We take a look at the hero's journey, we take a look at the framework, we think of a point of where you are in life right now, and we try to apply the hero's journey to it. When did you leave the world that you knew behind? What mentor helped you achieve a goal? And what great ordeal have you personally overcome? Let's make this a little bit smaller. Think of some impactful events in your life. Apply those to the same framework of the hero's journey. Make it even smaller. Make it like a common event. Let's say going to the store. What was the world like before you knew you had to go to the store? Once you got there, I'm sure there were some like tests you had to overcome to get the items you wanted. You had to find parking. You have to know where it is in the store. Maybe they're out and you had to find an alternative. And how did the trip change once you return from the store, both internally and externally? An important element of this exercise is to actively look for how we can apply everything to story. which helps us see the story in everything. And this can be applied to various formats, commercials, books, podcasts, even like simple conversations. To use a personal example, my ability to see the story in everything is what enabled me to like have success as an editor. I'll give you an example. I was creating a 60-second Instagram video, which needed to be cut down to 30 seconds and then 15 seconds and then 7 seconds. And in every version of this, I was like, what is the story that we can tell? What is the conflict, trial, and resolution that I can set up and tell in 7 seconds? And if you do that, you could find success in your storytelling wherever you go. I also would like to cover another version of this framework that hasn't been covered a whole lot. There's a version of this that was created by Maureen Murdoch, who worked with Joseph Campbell, and she felt the need to adapt it to some of her female clients that she was counseling in therapy. And Campbell's reaction was, and I quote, "Women don't need to make the journey. In the whole mythological journey, the woman is there. All she has to do is realize that she's the place that people are trying to get to," which shows a lot on how Joseph Campbell viewed women and their needs, which is definitely a thing. But I think this journey is important to examine because part of our struggle as people, no matter what gender you identify as, is becoming whole. Most of us aren't going to literally go out and find a metaphorical dragon to slay all the time. And some of the most moving films are about people trying to rebuild their psyche after a great loss. The heroine's journey is something that really exemplifies that. Now I'm just going to go through the different steps. And through this framework, the heroine separates from the feminine. The feminine is often a mother or a mentor figure or what is societally prescribed as feminine, marginalized, or an outsider role. Next is the identification with the masculine and gathering of allies. The heroine embraces a new way of life. This often involves choosing a path that is different than the heroine's prescribed societal role, gearing up to fight the organization or the role or the group that is limiting the heroine's life options, or entering some masculine dominant identity defined sphere. Then there's road and trials and meeting of ogres and dragons. Not literal ones, but the heroine encounters trials and meets people who try to dissuade her from pursuing their chosen path or try to destroy her. And I think as filmmakers, this is something that we can definitely resonate with because we are on this journey that a lot of people think is dangerous and some may try to dissuade you from doing it, but we have to keep going nonetheless. Then you experience the boon of success. The heroine overcomes the obstacles in their way, and this is typically where the hero's journey ends. You defeat the dragon, you beat the big bad, you come back home and you're a changed person. But now, where this continues in this framework, the heroine awakens to feelings of spiritual death. The heroine's new way of life, attempting to have that masculine dominant identity, is too limited. Their success in this new way of life is either temporary, illusory, shallow, or requires a betrayal of self over time, which has happened to many a filmmaker where you get the thing that you think you want, and then it turns out to be not the thing that fulfills you. And this applies to people in all forms of life. Then there's the initiation and descent to the goddess. The heroine faces a crisis of some sort in which the new way of life is insufficient and the heroine falls into despair. All of the masculine dominant group strategies have failed them. Getting the prize was not everything that we thought it was cracked up to be. The heroine urgently yearns to reconnect with the feminine. She wants to, but is unable to return to their initial limited state position. The heroine heals the mother-daughter split. They reclaim some of their initial values, skills, or attributes, or those of others like them, but now views these traits from a new perspective. The heroine heals the wounded masculine within. She makes peace with the masculine approach to the world as it applies to them, but is not taking that as the end-all be-all. Then the heroine integrates the masculine and the feminine in order to face the world/future with a new understanding of themselves and the world and life. The heroine integrates the masculine and the feminine qualities and perspectives. This permits the heroine to see through binaries and to interact with the complex world that includes the heroine, but it's also larger than their personal lifetime or geographical or cultural milieu. And I think this framework is a way to expand upon the hero's journey and also gives us more of a framework on internal struggles. Because while going out and like beating the big bad guy or getting the job is a great first start, it doesn't really encompass what people's personal journeys are all about, which is finding out that what you need to heal is not just an external prize, but it's also to heal the person inside. And if we can apply that to more of the stories that we are creating, I think the world would be far better off. Human civilization rests on the power of story. It's how religious organizations are formed, it's how politicians are created, and how nations are made, both for good and for bad. America is widely recognized as the land of opportunity because of the story that we tell, because we created an entire industry, aka Hollywood, that allowed people to see this story being told on a global scale. And it's part of the reason why people think that America is just the best place in the world, although that is starting to fade really fast. Being able to recognize your own story and how it connects with that of your audience, how to use the hero's journey and or the heroine's journey and create them into your work is very magnetic. And you have the necessary foundation now to create an impact with the work that you're making. Now, these are also meant to be guiding frameworks. These are starting points that can be expanded upon and modified, and you should expand and modify and change them to make them fit what you do and not take them as frameworks you have to follow. Trying to capture something as weird and unpredictable as the human experience, it cannot be simplified to a set of instructions, which is why large language models like ChatGPT and Claude have struggled and will continue to struggle writing scripts. They just don't have the capability to do it. They will just follow a framework to a T, and if you go off of that framework, it will say that it's wrong. But that's a video for another time. And I do promise that the AI video is coming and all my thoughts on it. I just haven't quite done all the research that I want to yet. But learn the power of story. Study it. Study all kinds of it from all different places in the world, from all different time zones, from all different time periods. Own your skills in it. Use it not only for the work that you create, but in how you communicate your message online and with people in person that you meet. Now, the next part of the series is going to be some tech talk. I'm going to be going through some of the technical knowledge that all filmmakers and video storytellers can benefit from. That includes things like editing, graphic design, event coordinating, all the things that you need to know in order to set yourself up for success. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel, like this video, subscribe to me on Substack, marislitica.substack.com. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.